Hi everyone, how are you? How is the quarantine going? Is normal? So I really am sorry for not sending the videos about the next classes because of the some problems that are happening in my life. But from today on, I will promise you to send all the essential videos about the writing and the speaking, or reading and everything, and grammar as well. So, but today I decided to explain how to write and how to get a 9 band score from writing task 2. So hopefully my lesson will be satisfying, and today again I will be providing you with the essential information how to write the writing task 2, so that I strongly require you to pay your fullest attention what I'm explaining, so that today I decided to choose to discuss the advantages and disadvantages type of essay. And but before starting how to write the essay for this kind of essays, so I ask you to pay attention to these three questions: question 1 and question 2 and question 3, because as most of you know about the advantages and disadvantages type of essay, this type of essay is divided into 3 questions, I mean the 3 parts. And in these 3 questions, we need to answer all these questions, I mean each of these questions separately, because we are asked to write an essay with a different approach for this kind of questions, so that I will help you to differentiate the difference between all these 3 questions. So let's pay attention to these 3 questions and what the examiners ask us to discuss actually. So let's pay attention to the question 1 and what it's like actually. So question 1. In question 1, we are asked to discuss both advantages and disadvantages of something equally. So, and in this one, the examiners ask you to discuss the positive and negative sides of something equally. So that you need to be careful that you are not going one side stronger than the other side. In this one, you need to try to be as equal as possible, because being equal affects your overall structure. So that be careful that whenever they ask you to discuss both sides, it means you need to discuss both sides equally. So that the question 1 is they mostly ask you discuss the positive and the negative trends of something. For example, let's take the playing computer games as an example, and the examiners are asking you like this: discuss the advantages and disadvantages of playing computer games. How about the question 2? And the question 2 is totally different from the question 1, because in this one we are asked to say which side is stronger than the other one. What do I mean? Whether advantages are more than drawbacks or vice versa. In this one, we mustn't discuss both sides equally, because examiners ask you to say which side of, I mean, for example, whether the advantages of something are more than disadvantages. And so that if you are in one stronger side, it means that you need to write the stronger side first of all, and you need to write more things for the stronger side. And let's imagine just you want to count the 2 advantages of playing computer games, and these 2 should be more than drawbacks. For example, if you want to discuss 2 advantages of playing computer games, it means you need to discuss 1 drawback. You cannot be equal in this one. So that this one is totally different from this one. And the examiners mostly ask you like, do the advantages of playing computer games outweigh the disadvantages? Outweigh means saying which side is more, whether positive sides are more than negative ones. So let's pay attention to the question 3 and what it's like actually. So this question 3 is somehow similar to a discussion essay. So most of you know about the discussion essay and what we are required to write in this one actually. In this one, not only do we discuss both sides equally, but also we are asked to give our own opinion. In this one, our own opinion should be considered in our essay, because this, your opinion, affects your general structure as well, because you need to have one specific paragraph for your own opinion, so that it's somehow similar to the discussion essay. So I hope that you differentiated the difference between all these three questions. And today I'll be explaining you separately how to write the question 1 as perfectly as possible. And I will be giving you the general structure, how to start your introduction and how to change the, how to paraphrase and how to get a 9-band score from the question 1. And hopefully in the next classes I will be trying to explain the question 2 and the question 3. And after finishing the advantages and disadvantages type of essay, we will move to the other types of writing task 2 questions. So if you understood the difference between all these three questions, let me move to the question 1 and let's start how to write and how to get the 9-band score from the question 1. Okay, let me erase. So pay attention to the question 1 and we will be trying to learn how to write the essay for the question 1. So the question 1, as I said you, in this one, we need to discuss both sides equally. So let's pay attention to the topic that we are going to discuss today. And here is the question. So let's pay attention to the topic one more time. In some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies. And it is a topic. And the question, let's pay attention to the question. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people who decided to do this. And if you pay attention, the things which are being asked from us are discussing both sides equally. I mean, discussing both advantages and disadvantages for young people who decided to do this. And now we understood what we have to do actually in this question. So now let's pay attention to the question for topic first of all, and what are being asked from us now. So in this one, before starting to write the general structure for your writing task 2, you need to brainstorm. What does brainstorm means? You need to pick what you are going to write about the advantages and what you are going to write about the disadvantages. You need to pick the biggest advantages of going abroad before starting university studies in order to earn money, let's say. And you need to think about the positive sides of doing that. And besides this, you need to brainstorm about the drawbacks of being abroad in order to earn money. And so you need to brainstorm both sides equally, and after picking the main advantages and disadvantages, so you should start writing the general structure in your mind. For example, now, as you know, the advantages and disadvantages essay requires you to discuss both minus and plus sides. And now I am going to write the general structure, how to explain this kind of question, I mean the question 1, as perfectly as possible. So the first thing that we need to do in this one is to write an introduction for our topic. Because in the introduction, we should say what we are going to discuss in the rest of our essay. So your introduction should be understandable and it should be clear enough for the examiner, because your introduction attracts your examiner, so that try to write your introduction as precisely. So let's pay attention. So the first thing that we need to do is to write an introduction for our topic. What should be done in the introduction? So we need to try to do two things in introduction, and let's pay attention to the A version, what should be done. So we need to paraphrase the question. So now, topic is clear, and in the topic, we give the question, and we need to paraphrase this topic. the question. So how can we paraphrase? Actually, paraphrase means we need changing the structure by using different synonyms, different structures, changing the word form, changing the active into passive or vice versa. However, meaning should be kept as it is, because most people try to change the structure of their sentence, but while they're changing, they don't pay attention whether they're keeping the meaning as it is or not. So that you are allowed to use the different synonyms and the different structures, but even though you use this kind of variety of structures and synonyms, you should be cautious that you are not changing the meaning. The meaning should be kept as it is. And the second thing we need to do is outline sentence. What does outline sentence mean? Actually, outline sentence means you need to mention what you are going to discuss in the rest of your essay briefly, not broadly. Because your outline sentence shows what you are going to discuss. And in this one, you cannot give everything broadly. Because if you give everything broadly, what will you write in your main body 1 and main body 2? So that try to describe your outline sentence as briefly as possible. And one more thing that you should pay attention is, in outline sentence, you mustn't use any personal pronouns. Most people try to use the personal pronouns like I will suggest, or I will discuss, or we will discuss. No, you're not allowed to use the personal pronouns in your outline sentence. Instead, you can start your outline sentence like this. This is say, will suggest that, blah, 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 blah. So, I hope that you understood what the paraphrasing was and what the outline sentence was. If you got me, so let me show my version, how I am going to change the structure of sentence, and you will see how I am keeping the meaning as it is, even though I try to use the different structures and different synonyms, and I will show you how to change the structure. And here you may ask the question, what should be done in the changing the word form? So changing the word form means, imagine you may be given the verbs, right? And instead of verbs, you can change the verb into noun. Or sometimes you can use the adverb, right? And you can change adverb into adjective. So let's say I will give it orally. I will give one example orally. Let's say the number of people wanting to study abroad has increased significantly for the last 10 years. Now, let's say, let's keep in mind. So I'm saying the number of people wanting to study abroad has increased significantly for the last 10 years. Now I'm going to change the structure. The number of people, let's say. So there has been a significant increase in the number of people wanting to study abroad for the last 10 years. If you pay attention, firstly, the number of people wanting to study abroad has increased, and I used the word in the first sentence, but I am changing the verb into noun. A significant increase in something. Now I am changing significantly adverb into adjective, and I am changing the verb into noun, and it is called the changing the word form, and or changing the active into passive. You know, if you try to use the passive voice in your speech, in your writing task 1 or task 2, and the possibility of getting the higher scores will increase, because the examiners mostly advise you to write your structures with passive voice. But there are some sentences which require only active voice, and therefore you need to be careful, and you should think logically whether the active voice should be used or the passive voice. So, and you know how to use the different synonyms. So, but you should be careful that whenever you want to use one synonym of a verb, maybe, or a noun, you should be careful all the meaning should be equal to each other, because most people try to use the synonyms, but they always use them incorrectly. And you know how to use the different structures, and I explained outline sentence, and let's see how I'm going to write my... Oh, let's see how I changed the structure. So let's pay attention. Now, it was our topic, and I'm going to change the topic. And I'm going to change the structure totally. Before embarking on university studies, many young people are advised that a year working or traveling may be a good option. Now I paraphrase the given question. So let's pay attention how I change it. Now, in some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies, right? And let's pay attention. Starting, right? University studies. And before embarking on, it means equally. I mean, I use the synonym of start, embarking on university studies, many young people. And now, young people should be kept as they are, but instead I use the many, right? So many young people are advised. Let's pay attention. Encouraged. Advised that, and now I am going to change the word form. For example, a year working. Here I use it verb, fully infinitive form of the verb, to work or travel. Instead of using again the verb, I am changing the verb into gerund. A year working or traveling may be a good option. And if you pay attention, I just changed the structure, but I didn't change the meaning. Now, it was a paraphrasing actually. Now, let's pay attention to the outline sentence. I'm saying, as I said to you, you're not allowed to start your outline sentence with the personal pronouns. I will suggest, or we will suggest, instead you can say, this essay will suggest that saving money is the biggest advantage of this, and a reduced motivation to study is the primary drawback. And let's pay attention. Saving money, now I'm saying, it's the biggest advantage. And I'm going to write an essay. I mean, in my body one, I will write about the plus side of this. And a reduced motivation. It means it's a downside of having a gap year, let's say, before starting the university studies. And a reduced motivation to study, now it's a primary drawback of this. So, as I said to you, in your outline sentence, you should say what you are going to discuss in the rest of your essay as briefly as possible. Now, I didn't describe it broadly, just I mentioned it briefly. So that, according to this, I am going to continue my essay. Now, if you understood what the introduction was, let's move to our main body 1 and main body 2, and after that, so let's pay attention to the main body 1. And what should we do in main body 1? So it's optional for you to write the advantages or disadvantages in your body 1. So you can start from either plus side firstly or minus side. It's up to you. But it doesn't matter whether you start advantages or disadvantages firstly, but you need to follow these 3 steps. Firstly, you need to have the topic sentence. In topic sentence, you should give one main idea, and this main idea should be what the biggest advantage is actually. For example, whenever the examiners ask us to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of something, most people try to count the advantages one by one. They count so many advantages, but they do not follow these 3 steps. I strongly recommend you to give 1 or 2 advantages, and they are much more enough. Even though you give fewer amount of advantages, but if you follow these 3 steps, you will get a high score from writing task 2. So the first thing, topic sentence, and it should be main idea, and the main idea should be what the biggest advantage is. And the second thing, you need to explain how this is an advantage by giving different reasons for the idea to be an advantage. So you need to prove why it's the biggest advantage. For example, we said that saving up a lot of money is the biggest advantage, right? And it can be the main idea for us, but we need to prove why saving up a lot of money is the biggest advantage of having a gap year before starting university studies. And the last thing that we should follow is that you need to give an example. And the example can be taken from statistics, or it can be taken from the real life. So if you give an example, and then you will be proving your topic sentence and explanation with an example. So as I'm saying, it can be taken from statistics or from the real life, but even though you take it from the statistics, they should be believable, not unbelievable. Because the examiners actually don't check whether your statistics are correct or not, but they should be somehow realistic. And as I'm saying, you can take from the real life, and in this case, you are allowed to use any personal pronouns you want. Because unlike our outline sentence, you can freely allow to use any pronouns that you want in your example. So now it means, first of all, topic sentence for your maybe advantages firstly, or maybe disadvantages. And after that, you need to explain how this is the biggest advantage, and by providing with the variety of reasons for your idea to be an advantage. And the last thing is giving an example. So let's pay attention how I wrote the main body one. So I decided to choose the advantage side to discuss firstly, and therefore I'm going to discuss the positive side firstly. So let's pay attention. Third level education is very expensive, and lots of students decide to work for 12 months and save up money before they begin their studies. And if you pay attention, it's a topic sentence. In the topic sentence, I gave the main idea, what the biggest advantage was actually. And I'm mentioning, third level education is equal to university. It's very expensive, as you know, because most students try to, or they study on the tuition fee or maybe scholarships, but anyway, they do have to pay for their tuition fees. And I'm saying, a lot of students decide to work for 12 months means it's equal to 1 year. For 12 months, and let's pay attention, the biggest advantage is saving up. They save up money before they begin their studies. It's a topic sentence. Now, I'm going to give the explanation, my idea to be a perfect. So here, I'm saying, this allows them, what allows? Saving up money, I mean earning a lot of money, let's say. This allows them to pay for their living costs, tuition fees, and accommodation, and focus on their studies rather than struggle financially or have to get a part-time job on top of their academic work. If you paid attention, I proved my idea to be the biggest advantage. How it was the biggest advantage? And I gave the different reasons for my idea to be an advantage side. For example, I'm saying if you have money, you can pay for your living costs, your pressing needs, for example, food and other needs like the clothes and everything, and tuition fees at your university, and accommodation. Maybe you may be staying in a flat, and you may rent a flat while you are studying, and you will focus on your studies very hard, so you don't have to struggle financially, or you don't have to get a part-time job, because most students both study and get a part-time job. But whenever you go abroad and come back, and if you earn a lot of money, that's it. No need to get a part-time job. Just you need to pay your fullest attention to your studies. Now it was the explanation I explained. And let's pay attention to the example. I took the example from the real life. For example, I'm saying most of the Uzbek students studying at international universities go to foreign countries like the US, Germany, and so on, and earn a lot of money there. For example, we have the foreign university students, and they have the working travel program, and according to the working travel program, so they go to these kind of countries and they can earn a lot of money. As a result, they will come back and again they will be focusing on their studies. So let's move to the main body 2. So we have discussed the advantages in the main body 1. Now it's time for us to discuss the disadvantage in main body 2. So what should be done in main body 2? Firstly, you shouldn't forget to start with contradictory words like however, but, in spite of, despite, on the other hand. Because you're moving from plus side to minus side, it means you have to start your paragraph with the contradictory words like this. And again, nearly the same thing that we did in our main body 1. So you need to give the topic sentence, main idea. But in this one, it was, in our main body 1, it was an advantage. Now it's time for us to say what is the biggest drawback in your main idea. And you need to explain how this is a disadvantage by giving again different reasons. And you need to give an example, and again it can be taken from statistics or from the real life. So it means nearly the same thing. So if you understood, again I will show how to write the main body 2, and I will give my own version, and you will see how I'm changing the structures and how I'm joining my idea coherently, and how I'm changing one idea with the other one meaningfully. So let's pay attention to my example. So main body 2 again. So let's pay attention. Despite these advantages, as I said to you, if you want to move from the plus side to minus side, do not forget to start your paragraph with the contradictory words. For example, I use it despite. Despite these advantages, many students often get used to working or traveling and do not want to return to a life of study after a year off. If you're addicted to working and if you're addicted to earning a lot of money, so you don't want to come back to the study life after taking a gap year. So now it's a topic sentence. So let's pay attention to my explanation. This short-term view, sorry, I omitted. This short-term view can cause some to bypass university altogether. I mean that they nearly give up the university. They don't want to come back to university at all. So, and go straight into a job beneath their capabilities. So, or may not offer the same prospects their future career might have done. Now I explained why it's happening and why this is the biggest disadvantage. I mean, why reducing motivation to study, not coming back to the study life again, is the biggest disadvantage. And I am explaining it with providing the different reasons. And let's pay attention to the example again. For example, a recent survey by the British government found that 26% of the students who take a gap year never enter tertiary education. Tertiary means third level education. So here I showed the statistics and I took the example from the statistics. So 26 of the British students take a gap year, but they don't want to come back to the third level education. Now it's an example. In the first example, I mean in the first main body, I chose the example from the real life, but in my main body too, I took the example from statistics. I think it's clearly understandable, so I showed the topic sentence and how it should be, and I showed you the explanation and the example. And if you understood the last thing that we should do is to write a conclusion, and the conclusion shows that we are going to finish our essay. So in the conclusion, what should be done? Conclusion means summary of main points. And in conclusion, we need to mention the advantage and disadvantage once more. But we should be careful that we are not repeating what we had in our main body 1 and main body 2 once more. It's time for us to use the variety of structures again. So you can be using the different synonyms again, and you can change the word formation. But you need to mention what you had in your main body 1 and main body 2 as briefly as possible in your conclusion. So let's see how I wrote the conclusion. So here is my conclusion. You can start your conclusion with in conclusion, to conclude, to sum up. So in conclusion, taking a break from studies means taking a gap year, let's say. Taking a break from studies can be beneficial if it allows people to gather up savings. Savings mean all the money that you gather. Gather up savings. However, they should also be careful that it doesn't lead to disillusionment with education altogether. If you paid attention, I just mentioned what I had in my main body 1 and main body 2 briefly, not completely like I did in main body 1 and main body 2, but I restated the advantage and disadvantage once more. But again, I used the different structures. Instead of saying a gap year or a year off, I used the break. And instead of advantages or advantage, so I used the beneficial. And instead of save up, I used gather up, and savings money instead. And I use it despite, but it's time for me to use the synonym of despite. However, they should also be careful that it doesn't lead to what? Disillusionment, the problem with the education altogether. So now the conclusion. We had everything. So and let's remember what we had. Firstly, the question 1 is divided into 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph should consist of introduction. And in introduction, we need to do 2 tasks. The first one is to paraphrase the question, paraphrase the topic. And the paraphrasing can be done by changing the structure totally, by using the different structures, different synonyms. And you can change the word formation, and you can change the passive into active or vice versa. And the second thing that should be done in introduction is to give the outline sentence. Outline sentence means mentioning what you are going to discuss in the rest of your essay, not broadly but briefly. So, and the second paragraph should be main body 1, and in main body 1 it's optional for you to choose which side to discuss firstly, either the positive side firstly or negative side. It's up to you. So, and the main body is also divided into 3 sections, and the first one is the topic sentence, I mean the main idea, what is the biggest advantage. And the second thing is the explanation. You should explain how this is the biggest advantage by providing with a variety of reasons. And the last thing is the example, and as we said, it can be taken from the statistics or from the real life. And the third paragraph is the main body 2, and now we want to move from plus or from minus to plus or minus. So, but we shouldn't forget that we should start our paragraph 2 with the contradictory words like however, despite, in spite, on the other hand, but. So again, it will be the same thing as we did. So, but in this one, you will choose either minus or plus again. So, firstly, it's also divided into 3 sections, and the first section is about writing a topic sentence, and the topic sentence is the main idea. And in the main idea, you should say what's the biggest, let's say, disadvantage. And the second thing is that the second thing that should be written in your main body 2 is explanation again. You need to explain how it's the biggest disadvantage by providing again different reasons. And the third thing is again the example. It can be taken from the statistics or from real life. And the last paragraph is our conclusion, as we have recently discussed it. So the conclusion means the summary of main points, and you need to mention the advantage and disadvantage once more, but with different structures. And you need to mention the advantage and disadvantage that you discussed in your main body 1 and main body 2, not broadly but briefly again, with different structures. So this is the end of our writing task 2 lesson. So today we have finished the question 1, and in the next lessons we will be trying to learn the question 2 and the question 3, and hopefully we will try to finish both of them in 2 lessons, and after finishing them we will be moving to other task 2 writing questions like problem solution essay and the discussion essay and the opinion essay we will be learning, and we will learn the mixed ones as well. So if you liked the video, so I'm very happy as well. So next lessons I will be providing you with other essential information about, or not only writing task 2 but also writing task 1, as we learn the line graph. So next time hopefully we will learn how to write let's say bar graph writing or maybe pie chart. It depends on the situation actually. So I hope that you will try to understand what I explained today, and if you understood, just try to watch the video several times, and you need to get the meaning. And after getting meaning, so you need to start to write any essay that you want related to question 1, and you need to search for the net, and there are a lot of topics about the question 1 advantages and disadvantages type of essay, and try to get the 9-band score like I showed. And if you understood everything, thank you very much.